You're right, Gangrene UK. You're joining us for episode 60. I'm joined by Otis and James, and we're going to be talking the last week of pre-season and, guys, the first week of football. How are we feeling about it, James?
Excited, man. Very excited. I had college football on the weekend, had a game every day and multiple games on Saturday. It's just football season's back and ready to get started, man. Pumped.
How are you feeling, Otis?
Yeah, ready to get back at it. It's it's nice to see meaningful football back. College, as James said, is back now. That'll start the hype train for next year's draft picks, as always. I'm sure it'll be far too early when everyone starts calling for certain players. But yeah, no, excited to have Jets football back.
I mean, to be fair, me and James were already calling it at the weekend. We've already done our draft picks.
Yeah.
We're just going to take the complete North Carolina Tar Heels team for the first three quarters, and then they fell apart. But yeah, so we're not going to talk college football. How did you feel week 3 went for us, Otis? Obviously, Giants game, no major injuries.
Yeah, health was great. A bit of a difficult one to judge again. Typical preseason game. We played our ones, they played their twos. Didn't seem to move the ball a whole lot, 1v2s. Then all of a sudden they started moving the ball a little bit. And then when it was sort of our 2s versus their 3s and our 3s versus their 3s and 4s, seemed to move the ball pretty well, which I think indicates the quality of depth we've got. But I wasn't hugely blown away by the ones performance versus the Giants 2s, to be honest. But hopefully when meaningful football comes in, there'll be some better performances. I think there needs to be a big shout out to what Denzel Mims put on tape throughout the Giants game. He was exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, how did you feel it went, James? Are you mirroring, or do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, no, pretty similar feelings about ones versus 2s and coming back on later. But I don't know, Flacco was really good until the interception. Not really good, but felt like he could manage an offense. And if he's doing that, you feel like we can churn out some results. But that pass was then, it's like, you kind of see why he lost his job. And then, yeah, I don't know. I quite like Straveller. I liked how he won 3 games. Maybe we would have put him in over Mike, but I don't know. Maybe they're going with Mike's experience, keeping him over Chris.
Yeah, it's always an interesting one pre-season, isn't it? Because it's like you say, like you never ever perform the way you're expecting to. And I think we've all said it at some point. I know you said it on the last video. It's like you can't judge anything on pre-season because it's just not. It's not the same. And I'm fully feeling that. Obviously, I think everybody knows I've been a massive defender of Denzel Mims, apart from leading from week 2 to week 3. I don't like it when they put in a trade request and like if he went out and went, I've asked for a trade, right? I'm okay with that. But it's when his agent came out and said it on Instagram. You're like, get in the bin. Just get in the bin. But I mean, he did. He played very, very well. Then his press conference after the game, I thought genuinely I would trade him now. He's not going to get any more trade value. If he keeps talking, personally, I think he's only going to damage his stock, because he said he feels that he's a number 1, but the coaching staff have already made their mind up and he can't do anything about that. I think that's just sour grapes. I don't know where you sit on that. I mean, I genuinely do think he's got the ability to play in this league. I just don't like it when people seem to have an attitude that they haven't earned. And at the minute, he hasn't earned that attitude. Otis, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a difficult one, really. I'm a firm believer in you should believe you're the best at what you do. Whether you are or you aren't, just believe you're the best. If he didn't have that attitude, I'd be disappointed. Yes, sometimes it comes across as arrogant. Yes, it's probably a little bit early considering what he's actually produced. But if he didn't believe that he could be a number 1 in the league, well, why are you bothering to even play in the league? You know, just go and sit on the couch. The one thing I will say is I think he needs to buckle down and produce in the start of the regular season. it's all well and good catching passes against the Giants. If he can come in and have 5 meaningful plays in the first game of the season, that'd be a great start. You know, if you can see him open on 5 plays, out of 5 plays, Flacco hits him for a couple of those, and you can start to see, okay, yeah, he has got something. I think his trade value will increase, and I think his likelihood of seeing 8 plays the next week or 10 plays the next week will increase. And I think genuinely think if he starts to show that he can play and be a starter, they will fit him in, because I think it's easy to see how we could have 4 starting wide receivers with high quality if you had Davis, Mims, and then the 2 slot guys in Wilson and Moore to start with, potentially. I think, you know, there's potential there. And if Wilson isn't quite ready, you've obviously got Berrios instead. So I think there's potential for Mims to see the field, but he's got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Where are you sitting on Mims, James?
Yeah, quite agree with what Lewis has said. I think the value that you've got for him right now, it's tiny, to be honest. So it's maybe a 6 or something. So it's almost worth giving him a couple of plays, even if it's in, you know, at the end, just in the fourth quarter, see if you can, you know, get some separation, make some plays. I just think, yeah, let's see how he goes for the first half of the season, really. Let's see if he can break into that squad for the first time.
Yeah, it's one of them for me, right? So I fully agree. The more he plays, he can show all of this. And he did it amazingly well against the Giants. He elevated himself. We were asking a 4th. Nobody's paying a 4th. But then I'll ask you a very, very serious question, right? Because I think he's at what? He's going into his 4th year now, is he not?
Third
year, right? So next year we've got to seriously start talking about extending him. So if we had to extend him tomorrow, how much are you offering him a season? Because if it's not over 7, he's not going to be happy. Because he believes and at the minute, right? And no other thing. Obviously, you know I'm a big supporter of him, but in all fairness, are you paying him more than 7 Otis?
No, and I think he's more likely to get a prove-it deal. I think he's more likely to get something like a 4 million 4 million a year over 2 years, so that he's got a bit of money but not huge amount. And if he does well in those 2 years, he can earn the big payday.
Yeah, right. See, and that for me, that there is where we're at with him.
Yeah,
he believes, and I'm all about that desire, but I don't want him to go out in a press conference and be mouthing off about coaches saying they've got favourites, because you just look like a small, like, petulant little child.
Yeah.
And I'm still a fan of Denzel Mims. I'm all for him coming in and playing well. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's going to be a bit of drama. Is Otis' screen go blurry there? I was having a stroke, right? Sorry, and then I thought I was having a stroke. I was like, wow, that's a really bad come up. So yeah, Mims was probably the biggest talking point of week 3 of pre-season. Then we
have Mikey Clemens.
Well, yeah, I mean, manslaughter, is that what we're going for?
Might just be murder, to be honest.
I mean, there was definitely intent, but it was a clean hit.
Yeah, great technique, exactly how you coach it, get your body to the side, everything. Didn't hit with the helmet, the whole lot was fantastic. And actually, on that with clean hits and not hitting with the helmet, do you remember when we were talking training camp time? Are the padded helmet covers going to make them hit with their heads? Is it going to lead to concussions? Look how clean the guys are hitting, and look how few players are in concussion protocol right now. Isn't it great to see the league actually implement something and it actually work? I don't think I've seen a big player go down with a concussion. We certainly haven't had one. It's just brilliant. Use them all the time. Put them in practice in the season. The guys know not to use their heads.
I think they are talking about
it. They should. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what, right? Obviously, I've got a few friends who are Giants fans, and they at first they were calling it as a dirty hit. Then they've watched it and were like, actually, it wasn't a dirty hit. It was maybe just unnecessary in a preseason game.
Yeah. it was too hard for a preseason game, really. But it's against the Giants, right?
I think he is just massive as well. So like once you tackle someone, that weight's got to land somewhere on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it was nice to see. I mean, I've got a feeling he's going to have this this number increase this year, because we are going to be seeing Lawson taking on extra. We're going to see JJ getting a bit of extra. Everybody kind of is going to focus in, so he might get through a little bit more.
It's also the Salah scheme, isn't it? That's the whole idea. It's to have 4 guys that are all good enough that you need to double them all. And if you can't double them all, someone's going to win. And the other thing he's going to benefit from is coming in against tired tackles. If you start the game with JJ and Lawson and say, right, play 15 snaps against the tackle, and then you go, off you go, Clemens.
Yeah.
Have fun.
It's gonna
take whichever one out you want.
Yeah, just kill.
Yeah, just go.
So did anybody else kind of do enough? Obviously, we know who was cut. Do we feel that anybody who was cut didn't deserve to be cut off what they've given us over pre-season? Now, we do have to talk about the elephant in the safety room. I mean, I'm a fan. I think the whole of the Twitterverse, the YouTubeverse, every universe knows I'm an Ashton Davis fan. But even in my list that we talked about before we came on air, I did drop Ashton Davis. So yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, guys? Did anybody get cut for you, James, who deserved to stay?
No. I don't know. I'd say probably Ham, maybe, in my first, just for the potential and kind of some of what he showed last year as well. I thought he might have, got one of those spots. But when you look at it, there was so many like safety linebacker / hybrid types in that defense. So someone had to go realistically.
Yeah, I mean, the fortunate thing for Naz is that he did clear waivers and ended up on the practice squad, which I'm happy about. He gets a bit more time to develop.
Yeah.
What about for you, Otis?
Yeah, no, I think James has hit it right on nail on the head, really. Naz was the guy that I expected to stick around. He could have been a first round pick, gets injured in college. We pick him up late. Everyone's thinking, what a steal. And then he sort of doesn't make the roster year 2. And you're a bit like, ooh, that's a problem. So I was a little bit shocked he didn't stay, but pleased that he made the practice squad. The other one I was a bit on the fence about was Tevin Wesco. I wasn't sure if he was going to stay just because of the versatility. Sorry. He has playing fullback and tight end. But I think that's testament to Cager and what he produced. I think if Cager hadn't have come out and shown his playmaking ability like he did, I think you'd still be seeing Wesco on the field, on the roster as that sort of hybrid role. Whereas Cager sort of relegated Rocket, I think, probably to that hybrid role, which is probably a little bit of a shock too. I think everyone was expecting Rocket to be tight end 3, and it looks like Cager might be tight end 3.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well, that he's kind of filling in for Borden, who's on season-long IR now. So he's still on the roster.
Yeah, you don't tend to carry a fullback anymore, do you? I think it's
no, but I
outdated.
think that kind of player does fit within that Salah kind of offense. But
yeah, LaFleur likes a fullback, but then you look at Green Bay and LaFleur doesn't use a fullback in Green Bay, so it's a bit of an odd one. Shanahan uses one, but both of his disciples don't use one, so a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too shocked over people going. I think we all agreed that when you got down to those last 8 cuts, it was difficult, but everybody who was kept had justification for keeping, apart from maybe Davis. For everybody else,
I had him in there.
Yeah, I mean, then the ones that went, there was justification for those to go as well.
I think the biggest shock for most people was Pinnock, right? I think a lot of people were thinking Pinnock was going to stick around.
Yeah. I thought he'd done enough to stick around, but I kept him in over a few players. But yeah, that safety room was hard, man.
Yeah, I dropped him, but because of the assumption that he wasn't good enough to clear. Sorry, that he wasn't good enough to be claimed on waivers. That was my biggest assumption with him. I think the lad's got a lot of potential, and he did okay in short action, backup safety. But I think when you're being realistic about transitioning from cornerback to safety, 12 months probably isn't enough. He wasn't showing enough to go off waivers to another team. So practice squad, I think, was a safe bet for
yeah,
Pinnock.
it's just one of those that when you play the Giants in week 3, you know that their secondary is dogs. And then you're going to drop this young hybrid player who is super athletic like a day after you've just played them. And he played well in that game when he played. So it's like, yeah, I got a message off Nick, one of my friends who's a Giants fan. And he went, Pinnock, you wavered him. And I was like, yeah, I think he'll come back to us. He went, you won't, we've just signed him. I was like, well, that's a great pickup for you. And then I shared his address. So obviously, cuts wise, are we all happy?
Yeah.
The restructure of CJ, how do we feel about that? Frees up a bit of money this year just in case.
Yeah, it's breathing room, really, isn't it? Because it is a lot of tight. Yeah, it was very tight going into it. So if we have some people go down, we can maybe still.
Yeah. How do you feel about the extension into next year? Obviously, his cost next year now is growing exponentially. I don't mind paying for him if he's delivering, if he's on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I like him. He's probably not what he was, but he's a leader of a defense, and it's quite a young defense. So I don't know. We'll see how this year goes, in all honesty. But looks like I may have to keep him either way.
Well, I mean, there's always ways out, but I'm not sure I'd want to get out of it. I think I'm quite happy with CJ.
I think it's a good sign for the Jets. There's football teams around the NFL that do brilliantly every year in, year out, because they manage the cap well, because their players want to play for them. They want to be with those coaches and they want to be with those GMs and with those teams. If Mosley restructuring is the start of things to come and shows the type of culture we're going to have and people willing to do that, I think that's a huge positive for the Jets. In terms of getting out of it, I don't think there's any need. I think what's more likely to happen is we extend him next year. And by extending him next year, we reshuffle the cap hit again and put it over another 2 years probably. So he'll end up doing 3 more years with us. He still looks athletic enough. He still looks like he can play the game. It wouldn't shock me if there's already a handshake agreement between him and JD and his agent to sort of say, you look after us this year, we'll look after you in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, he only came into the league in 2014. It just feels like he's been around a long time.
Yeah, when you've been at the top as long as he has, it feels like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you always look at it, he's only 30.
Yeah, he can play till 34 as well. So like 31 next year, another 2 years after that, plays until he's 33, 34. It's about right.
Yeah, and I don't think the cap hit's as horrendous as what it could have been.
It's not, because they spread the bonus over 5 years, didn't they? So we're paying his bonus for 5 years.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And then as we head into week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, obviously, there's everybody talking trash online. It's hard to see through this noise sometimes. James, how are you feeling going into week 1 against a Ravens team that I'm going to say none of us know a great deal about?
No, I suppose it's that one man we do know about. It's Mr. Jackson, who, like, even if his receivers aren't catching the ball, can give you a tough day. So I'm not sure. I want to be optimistic this year, so I'm going to say we can give them a close game. But as you say, it's not the team of past years, and they did have a down year last year. So I think we could give them a game, but their defense is quite stout, and I don't know if I want to throw Zach out there week 1 if he's not feeling right. So I don't know. Mixed feelings, but hoping for a good game either way.
Yeah, how are you feeling on it, Otis?
I feel like we've got the potential to give them some problems on offense. I feel like providing that Flacco turns up and sort of plays a sensible game, he's aware of Harbour's system pretty well and everything that the Ravens do, having spent so long there. So you'd expect him to be pretty well set up for some success. My concern is more the defense stopping Lamar. The run was our biggest problem last year. We have addressed that to a certain extent by improving the line. And it's also going to be exciting to see if that line can actually bring pressure against the number one offensive line, and even more interesting to see if they can run down Lamar Jackson. If we're seeing Jermaine Johnson coming off the corner, having beaten a tackle, is he actually quick enough to run down Lamar Jackson is then the big question, because Lamar's going to run. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good test for Sauce Gardner as well. Yeah, the Ravens have got some nice receivers. It's going to be good to see him actually tested against a proper team and see if people actually want to target him or not, because at the moment he's getting a free ride.
Yeah. It's a funny one because nobody gives him any credit because he wasn't targeted in pre-season. But nobody's picking up the fact that Kyle Hamilton missed 61% of all the tackles he went in for.
Yeah. You're always going to get it with corners as well. The reason that Jalen Ramsey and Trevon Diggs for the Dallas Cowboys get so much credit, and Richard Sherman for his whole career get so much credit, is because they get interceptions. And it's like, yeah, that's because people think they can beat them. That's the whole reason they get interceptions, is people think they can beat them. The reason Revis's interception levels are so low and everyone went, oh, Sherman's a better corner. He was never a better corner. People just didn't throw at Revis. Yeah. So he couldn't pick someone off.
We were talking about this the other day on a Twitter space, where a lot of people think that QBs are going to throw at Sauce Gardner until Sauce Gardner makes them not throw at them. Now, the thing is with Lamar, if Sauce Gardner gets targeted off Lamar and he picks off Lamar Jackson will not throw at him for the rest of that game, because Lamar, he doesn't handle interceptions well. We know that.
Sauce is a difficult one. I think people will target him. I think people are right that he's going to get targeted, particularly because he hasn't faced proper number one wide receivers yet. In preseason, it's sort of, you trot a few out, you might do 3 or 4 reps, but it's nothing serious. It's different to go in. It's Rashad Bateman, isn't it? I think the name of the
Bateman is probably their top wide receiver.
Yeah, I would expect him.
I'm looking at their roster now, and like DeMarcus Robinson is another one.
I'd expect Sauce to end up pulling the Bateman sort of responsibility, and they've been pretty high on him. So yeah, I'd expect Lamar to go after Sauce. The thing I'm most concerned about with Sauce, and the thing I want to see him do more than anything, is hold contain properly. I think he can cover. I don't think that anyone's doubting that he can cover. He's not the biggest corner in the world in terms of weight. He's got quite a slight frame. I want to see if he can contain running backs coming round the edge. I want to see if he's man enough to put his shoulder in on Lamar Jackson and drop him if Jackson gets out. That's going to be a big test for him, because again, preseason corners do get involved a little bit in the run game, but it's not like they're expected to blitz or anything crazy like that, which he will be now.
I mean, when I look at the Ravens team, there's a lot of players on there that I like and I was high on. I mean, Isaiah Likely, tight end.
Yeah.
They're saying he's going to be like their number 3 receiver option. I mean, obviously they've got Andrews, who's lethal.
Yeah.
Then Tyler Linderbaum, the center.
Yeah.
Then you've got Daniel Fafale, that the massive tackle that I was like, if we're not keeping Beck, then I want him. They drafted very, very well. They've got Morgan Moses at the other tackle position. Their line is looking pretty good. It's
a typical Ravens team. You look at the depth chart and you go, okay, there's not necessarily anyone that's going to light the world on fire, but every single one plays good football.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens are just great football. That's the Ravens football, right? It's the same as the Steelers. The Steelers forever have just been great football. They too tend to end up with some more superstars than the Ravens, but it's just great football. Just play great football and it'll work.
The one thing that we have got going for us is obviously there's all this thing going around with Lamar.
Yeah.
And his contract. Apparently he doesn't have an agent. He does it all himself.
Yeah.
And then he liked a photo on social media of him in a Dolphins jersey. So the whole of Baltimore was like ready to set fire to the stadium.
Some guy was complaining about Lamar, saying, "Oh, I love him, but he's not signed a contract yet," and he just commented, "You don't love Lamar." It's really funny.
I mean, it is kind of. I mean, their running backs are thin at the minute. They've got injuries left, right, and centre.
Yeah, they have just signed Kendrick Drake, haven't they? Kenyon Drake, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, who is a good running back, but he's a good running back.
Yeah, but behind a good line, a good running back's all you need, right?
Yeah, but that's a good line, but it's still a new line.
Yeah.
So we're talking, they've got equally as much chance as we do at being a good line.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A couple of players. So it's that thing of we know they play good line play, but they've still got, I think, 2 rookies coming in.
Yeah, the Ravens have still got a lot to prove. If they want to mix it with the Steelers and the Bengals in that division, the Ravens are going to be coming into that game going, we need to wreck the Jets.
Yeah,
that's going to be their motive.
I'm excited to talk this on a Twitter space because we don't know enough about them really.
No.
I mean, I always cast an eye over because obviously my friend's a fan, and I know a few of the players, but I don't know how they're playing.
No, and it's impossible to know week one, isn't it? Yeah. They'll turn up week one with a completely different playbook to what you saw in preseason anyway. You'll have probably seen 10% of the playbook all of preseason. That's for them and for us. You're going to see, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson run rates that you haven't seen them run for a year now. It's going to be completely different.
But it's one of those, like, this game isn't an automatic defeat.
No. I think actually for the first time in quite a long time, the team is at a place where no game on the schedule is really an automatic defeat. We are solid enough now that we can give everyone a game, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's not us even being overly optimistic.
No, that's just the improvement of the team, the talent.
This game is going to be tighter than a lot of people are giving credit. I mean, I've seen some predictions today on NFL UK that have got the Ravens beating us by 45 plus. And I'm like, I'm going to use Fraser's favourite line. Do they even watch football? Because at no point can you go... I don't think there's a matchup this weekend where I would go, that team's going to win by 45.
No, you can't predict that, can you? The NFL's too close for that. And in order for those games to happen, somebody has to perform way above expectation and somebody has to perform way below expectation.
I don't think either team have got that at the minute. I mean, Lamar Jackson, if we've looked at any games, right, to show us how to beat Lamar Jackson, you should watch the last 2 games that they played the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, make him pass.
Yeah, make him pass, fluster him. But the big thing that they did in the divisional game, I mean, we were there, me and my mate, we watched it live. The minute them edges were in his face, Lamar was done. And you do that to him for a half, you're in his head. And that's the thing that he hasn't shown yet, which is why I think he hasn't won a playoff game, is his head can go. He's still got that big chip on his shoulder that he is just a running back. So it's going to be a great game. I mean, I'm excited to actually get it underway, see how it goes. Anybody want to say first person to score for us? Will it be a rush, a receive, or a kick?
Corey Davis.
Yeah, I think that's a breeze.
So you're saying second half then, always. So we got Corey for you and Brees for you, James.
Yeah, scrappy one, like a 1-yarder, like a 4th down.
It's like a dirty dive.
Yeah. To knock someone out of the way first. Like
trust the Stokey to want a dirty play.
I'm gonna take CJ Mosley.
Okay.
I've just got a feeling that it's going to be like, that first game where he got injured the other year.
Yeah.
And he's just going to show up. He's just going to pick off Lamar on some dodgy little tip or something. And he's just going to run it home and then not celebrate because he's too classy for that. But yeah, so when we're looking at the season, guys, we can't do a pre-week one without doing our league offensive player of the year, defensive, the rookies, and comeback player of the year. So I think we'll start with the offensive. I am going to write these down, and then we'll come back to them.
Yeah. Offensive player or rookie? We're going to start with.
We'll do player.
Okay.
So offensive player of the year. Otis. I mean, you don't have to give any reasoning. You can just give a player if you want.
I think he repeats Cooper Cup.
I'm going to say Derrick Henry comes back, runs the league over. But we'll see.
It's a tough one. Offensive player of the year.
Yeah, really tough.
Like, supremely hard. Because I think it is going to go to a skill player. I think we're probably going to be looking at a wide receiver, but I'm going to go for Jefferson.
Okay.
I think he's going to put up some amazing numbers. I still think the team are going to be crap, but Jefferson.
I was about to say, but it's Minnesota, right?
Yeah, but we have seen it before where a player's got offensive player. We're not talking MVP, are we? Where that's bias. So offensive rookie.
I was looking at this.
Yeah, this one's hard, man.
Yeah, it really is.
I would have said Drake London before he got hurt. In fact, is he going to be back week one?
I don't know.
He's on the favourites, so I'd assume he's going to be playing from the start.
I loved him coming out of college, as you guys well know.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Treylon Burks just because I think he's going to be on a good offense. So I think he's going to get a few more chances than some of these other lads.
You just made KM very happy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Breece Hall.
I like it.
I think it'll be a slowish start. I think 2 or 3 games, but I don't see why he can't give us 1,000 yards this season.
Yeah, Drake London is back week one. Drake London.
Yeah, love it.
That kid is special.
A defensive player of the year, gentlemen.
TJ Watt. You can't bet against the man, can you?
I mean, to be honest, I was thinking TJ as well.
The man's a freak.
I'll throw in Donald just to be different, but I kind of do agree with you too. So we'll see.
Yeah, the problem with Donald as well is he could be suspended yet.
Oh yeah.
Swinging a helmet around at Bengals players isn't the way to go, is it?
Yeah, it's one of them. Do you think they could give him into a 3rd year in a row?
Yeah, definitely. He's that good. He's a freak, isn't he?
And then defensive rookie, gents.
Quay Walker.
What was that? Sorry?
Quay Walker, Packers linebacker. Just because he's going to be on a good team. I like rookies on good teams.
Aiden Hutchinson. He is going to kill people on the Lions team.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking Thib, and then obviously he went down.
He's back though, isn't he? He's fine. They're just spraying on it.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be in week one. You know what? I'm going to stick with Thib because I can't bring myself to say Clemens, even though I kind of want to.
Wow, that would be some performance for a 4th draft pick.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what would you have to do you think, to get it? 10
85 to 1 he is, if you want to do it.
How much?
Yeah.
85 to 1 they've got him at.
Yeah, he'd need 10 or 12 sacks, wouldn't he? I think, genuinely, I think the player on our team that could be in with a shout is Sauce, but the problem is corners get such a rough bag when it comes to awards like this, because in order for consideration you need to get a lot of interceptions. If he's as good as people say he is and people don't throw at him, he's not going to get those interceptions.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing. He was the number 4 ranked rookie over the preseason. It's like, but he didn't get targeted.
Yeah, but he didn't allow a reception.
Yeah, didn't allow a reception, and it's like, so he did his job, but because they didn't target him. Yeah. What about comeback player of the year?
I won't go with the obvious one because James went from earlier for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty good shout that he wins Comeback Player of the Year as well, to be honest. But the one that I think is an outsider but could do it is Michael Thomas for the Saints.
I've wrote the same one down. I think, yeah, Thomas is that kind of one where you go, yeah, okay. The other one, to be a little bit different, do you know who I think could really do it? Mitch Trubisky.
Do you?
It's not a bad shout.
All he has to do is make the playoffs, and he's got to be in for a shout.
I think Run CMC's got a chance as well.
Yeah, that'd be
and with Baker being back, I think it's if Baker's back and plays okay, then Run CMC is going to be free more. I say the obvious choice is Derrick Henry for me, and I think if Derrick Henry wins Comeback Player of the Year, I think he probably gets the double and wins Offensive Player of the Year as well. But it's hard.
Are you saying for that one? Sorry, James.
I'll go CMC. You know, Christian. Yeah, man stays alive. Hopefully.
It'd be nice to see him have a healthy season. He's such an exciting player to watch. I love watching Run CMC.
Yeah. You not feel it heartbreaking that he's at the Carolina biplanes?
It's like Adrian Peterson, isn't it? When he was at the Vikings for so long, winning so little, but was so good.
Yeah.
There are just players that end up in those situations, aren't there? Megatron. What a waste. Why was that man on the Lions team? But can you imagine if by some fluke the Patriots drafted Megatron? Just like the numbers would be nuts, wouldn't they? The man was a freak anyway. Or the Saints, give him to Drew Brees.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, Olive, for me, he's got a chance as well. But
I think Thomas being back reduces Olive's chance.
That's what I was just like. If Thomas wasn't back, Olive would be almost hands down because
he'd be the offense.
I mean, it's going to be a good season because there's a lot of exciting rookies, which I feel there's more this year than there was last year. Because last year it was more the fact that there was 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, the lack of quarterbacks dampens it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like this year, it's like the quarterbacks were all internal moves, really. Like it was all players in the league, and they just moved around. There's players being drafted, but we know Willis isn't going to start. We know Pickett's not going to start. We've got Trey Lance starting in San Fran. It's like that's the excitement of like we've seen a little bit of some of them.
Willis was exciting when he played, though. I think there's going to be a few teams that kick themselves for not taking him when they could have.
I'm still gonna hold on to the fact that I called him this exact week last year after the first week.
Did you?
I can remember sitting down talking to James about it and saying, check out the highlights of this kid.
And then a good player.
Then next week, like week 2, we came to yours to watch the game.
You did?
And that's when I was saying, look at it there. So yeah, it's going to be a good season going in. Hopefully everybody will join us for more of these.
Yeah.
And we will catch you all soon, guys.
Yeah.